What's up, guys? Welcome to the Saturday show. Now, on Saturdays, I like to go back through the week of Newswave to see what you guys had to say down in the comments, and it's always fun to read through them just to see what, I guess, was going on in the comments with the conversations and everything. Now, this week was pretty busy, right? We even got more news that's coming out today for Persona R that I'll actually try to cover later on this afternoon in a video just to get people caught up there. So if you want to keep up to date on any of the Persona stuff, make sure you're subscribed and everything, and you should get a notification for that, hopefully. YouTube was kind of weird with notifications this past week. But it's been a week. We had Stadia, we had the Nindies that showed Cuphead coming over to the Switch. It's just stuff all over the place. So a lot of stuff to go over here. As always, guys, enjoy these videos. Hit the like button, it does help out. We're actually going to start today with a little bit of news because Labo VR had a bit of a preview event with press, and they were pretty surprised. Yeah, it was interesting. Now, a lot of them wrote articles and kind of their own impressions of it. I checked out Eurogamers, for example, because I figured they would be very skeptical going into a VR experience for Labo, and they were. It makes sense, right? We all kind of know what the screen is on the Switch. It's no secret. But they came away from it actually kind of impressed. And we did have like a full overview trailer that I'll leave below if you guys want to check that out a bit more. It shows at least what some of these games are going to be. Now, I looked at them, and yeah, they're basically mini games. It reminds me of Labo Variety Kit, and that didn't exactly hold up very well after a few plays, and it gets put. I think most people spent more time building the things than actually playing them, and I guess that's part of the experience, right? It's the idea anyway, is for kids to learn how to put this kind of stuff together, develop motor skills, critical thinking, and honestly, the way that they were able to achieve some of that stuff with cardboard was actually really cool to reverse engineer and check out. There's some neat tricks and some cool stuff that they did in there, even for like adults to check out. But the VR experiences, they have the Blaster, that's an on-rails type shooter. I guess it's kind of like an arcade machine almost, just with that. The one, like the bird, was kind of interesting because you're flying around. Again, that's gonna be something you probably play for a little bit. They showed like this pedal that's like a wind pedal that'll literally blow wind at your face as you're doing an action in the game, and I guess that's supposed to make it a bit more immersive. The one that I saw that I said, come on, that's gotta be Pokemon Snap, was the camera, and yes, it looks very much like it would work for something like Pokemon Snap, especially something on rails, for example. Even if, this is going to sound crazy, even if you got the 64 version, brought it over as like a virtual console thing, and then, oh look, the camera is compatible. Seriously, they were turning it, zooming in, they were making the snapping noise when they take pictures and everything, and I got a little bit of Pokemon Snap nostalgia there when they were doing that. They were kind of underwater taking pictures and stuff, but the big thing is, everyone who tried it out said, hey, it wasn't as blurry and terrible looking as I thought it would be. Somehow Nintendo made it work, and I think a lot of it has to do with it not being one of those experiences where they're trying to do some crazy visual style or anything like that. It is simplistic textures and everything, and it apparently at least gets the job done. Now, will they continue doing this? We'll see, because a lot of people had questions about Labo actually continuing on, and hey, they're doing VR with it. I'll be curious if Nintendo ever really does anything serious with VR, as of course their R&D department and the people developing the games, well, they're getting some experience right now for it. So hey, maybe if VR takes off, this is Nintendo's way of kind of prepping their development teams and their in-house studios just in case you want to put a little bit of, I guess, just a VR spin on one of the games in the future generation when they have the inevitable upgrade of the Switch. So, but we'll see. And starting the week off on Monday, we saw more and more teasing from Gearbox heading into PAX East, with many posts on Twitter seeming to point to new Borderlands games coming. We also received confirmation from Sega at South by Southwest that a new Sonic game was in development. Grote says, I want them to bring back the Brothers in Arms series, a realistic World War II squad-based game with modern graphics. So, I actually remember when Brothers in Arms was first really showing up back in the day, and I actually played it I remember playing it myself on, I think, the original Xbox and also PC, and it felt way different than something like Medal of Honor, like Frontline, for example. Believe it or not, they actually got away with teen ratings back then, which was interesting, but Brothers in Arms just said, no, we're going straight up mature ratings. So you had some very violent scenes that reminded people of things like, Saving Private Ryan, for example, and it wasn't war censored within a teen rating. It was just war just like unleashed, and it definitely grabbed you. And to be honest, it was, I think, at times better than Medal of Honor back then. But the issue now is it's been pretty much relegated to phones. Yeah, seriously, the last couple have come out on cell phones and mobile devices at this point. But the last one I think they did was on the Wii, right? Before that, I think it was Hell's Highway, I think on the 360 and stuff. So it was already kind of on its way out at that point because those games weren't getting great reviews or anything. And they said, move it over to mobile and we'll go there. But I would love to see them take another shot at something like a Brothers in Arms just to see if they can make it work again. I mean, I think seeing things like Battlefield 1, for example, though, and then Battlefield 5, that transition, I don't think as many people maybe are really looking towards like the old like World War I stuff. Maybe they could get away with a World War II type thing. I don't know. We'll have to see. But of course, now all the Call of Duties and stuff are all mature rated anyway. That was the one thing Brothers in Arms really had, is they really leaned into the violence and tried to make it as gritty and realistic as possible. Tuesday, we saw Google prepare to announce their Stadia streaming platform that would allow gamers to play games over their phone and web browser without having to buy a system. And Call of Duty also was announced to be heading to phones worldwide. Johnny says, COD Mobile, finally the ability to buy reticules from the comfort of your phone. If you thought microtransactions were bad on their full $60 games, get ready for this. So, I mean, we look at the phone, and a lot of people see it as a free-to-play style platform, device even, and you go on there, you know you're getting the game for free, and then you're going to just buy in for stamina, you know, or speeding up production of different things on a map, for example. There are tons of ways they monetize these things. Of course, they have you like take your money and buy like gems or something so that they can kind of convert the currency and kind of hide how much you're spending. There's a lot of psychology and thought that go into essentially getting over on the player in these phone games. And if you think Activision's gonna pull back when they're allowed to do whatever they want basically on the phone where it's free reign, yeah, it's gonna be something else. I mean, seriously, if they are willing to do things like sell you a dot for a couple bucks on a $60 premium game, what are they going to do in a game where it's free and people are extremely accepting of microtransactions? They're going to go crazy. So that'll be at least interesting to see how they do all of that. Wednesday, we talked about Google Stadia after its reveal. This is a new service from Google that will allow gamers to stream games without the need of a console and with some serious integration into things like YouTube. Howdy Folks Gaming says, I don't want Google deciding what I play. I don't want them monitoring what I play. I don't want to worry about games being removed from their service. I want my games physical, on a shelf, safe from lawyers, copyright disputes. Oh, I see you mentioned Scott Pilgrim there. And Google's spying eyes. They already read my Gmails and monitor my YouTube activity, not giving them access to my gaming habits. So a lot of people see this, of course, as a way for them to make money by charging for games and everything. But the big thing Google likes is information. Facebook loves it too, right? They like to get information. And people started to realize that there is a microphone mildly hidden on that controller. And people, of course, have pointed out that there are times where, you know, like phones and other microphones are listening, you know, like people have done tests with Facebook where they kind of talked around their phone and then, all of a sudden they start getting ads for something like dog food when they don't actually have a dog, but they talked about having a dog for like a week. So yes, Google and Facebook, for example, love information. They absolutely love it. That's what they feed off of. And this is a great way for them to get information, a ton of information from gamers that they've already been trying to get information from on YouTube. This is just a way to get it from you straight up interactive and everything. And there probably is a thought of, if we can get things like the cell phone market on board here. People that just don't usually play games, but maybe they want to try the latest game just to see what it's all about. Like Fortnite, for example. I mean, I know it's free, but you might open up a browser on a terrible computer and it's like, hey, you can play Fortnite right now with a click of a button. In 5 seconds you'll be in. And you might get some people doing that. And then basically, you know, the terms of service comes down. I did like your mention here of some games that have been pulled, though, because that is the biggest thing. Streaming games will run into that issue. And Google has not talked about that. When it comes to licensing, you're talking about legal issues, copyright, all that stuff is real. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is one of the best beat-em-ups I think I've ever played. It is awesome. And it's unavailable. It was on the 360 and the PS3. I specifically remember playing on 360, and now it's gone. If you had purchased it, you can still play it. It's still in your system, but you can't buy it anymore, which is a shame. PT, the demo, gone. Like, they erased that thing. I mean, if you have it on your system, you can still play it. Otherwise, though, you got to jump into one of these fan remakes or something. Another issue, not as much the same. It just more or less was a developer who got really annoyed, obviously, or a company mad at a developer, and they wanted to pull their work completely and scrub their name, and they had to get rid of that. And yeah, it's a scary world to think about that when you don't have your stuff actually on a shelf. At least the option. And you know what? Because of that, I don't know if we'll ever get... I mean, people still buy music CDs. Like, think about it that way, you know? People still buy DVDs. So I don't know if we'll ever actually like completely stomp out all physical games, but I can tell you this, publishers love the idea of it being an all-digital future at the minimum. And that's still scary for a lot of people. Jar Jar says, let's be honest, who is actually going to play virtual racing with 8-player split screen? I will. Like once, just to try it, specifically in handheld mode, tabletop mode. We're going to split up that screen into 8 sections. I want to try it. We already kind of made fun of things like Mario Kart, splitting that into 4. Let's split it again into 8. I think that's mostly going to be it. Unless you have like obviously a very large TV and you can get away with it. Most of the time, no one's going to use that. But it's funny that they put it in there just to do it, you know, just to have it. I mean, it's something we just talked about, obviously, the physical games and stuff. It's a mode where 8 people can play on one screen. So if you have it downloaded and everything, you have it on your tablet for your Switch, and you're on the go, yeah, everyone can squint really hard and play 8-player virtual racing. Thursday, we saw some big indie games get announced for the Switch during the Nindies presentation that was capped off with Cuphead. We also saw Epic Games pick up a ton of games, making them exclusive to Epic Store, such as Detroit Become Human. Christoph says, Cuphead on Switch is one thing, but could we see this partnership head towards Rare coming home to Nintendo with Rare Replay? Let's face it, if Microsoft are sitting on all but dead franchises in the Switch crowd would buy into it for the N64 games alone. Dare I even say the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, DK64 included to complete the package. This is one game that would easily sell more on Switch than its Xbox counterpart. That's something you're going to run into a lot. We'll talk about that in a minute with Cuphead and another comment coming up. But Rare Replay is an easy-ish port. Here's the thing, Rare Replay is like 50 gigabytes, I think, if you start adding everything in. So space constraints, it's something I've talked to you guys a lot about. There are games that some people would not believe have been considered for the Switch, but space is the issue. Those game carts are expensive. Sure, they can make it digital only, and honestly, I would prefer to have that if nothing at all. Like if they were like Rare Replay can only be like digital because it just won't fit on a cart for it to make sense, I would say, hey, you know what? It's digital. That's fine. All right, yeah, sure, go ahead. Bring it over. But think about it this way. Microsoft has no problem right now moving games over to the Switch because they'll make money. It's revenue for them. And that also makes me wonder about that N64 Classic that we talked about a while ago, if you remember, where we weren't sure if they would be able to work something out for Donkey Kong at all. We've heard, oh yeah, Microsoft and Nintendo working together, but now we've actually seen it. You know, we've seen Cuphead go to the Switch now. I played it yesterday. There's a video for that. You can check it out. But this is a bit more proof and a bit more backing towards them actually working together on something like a Rare Replay. I wouldn't be shocked if Rare Replay showed up. I haven't heard anything about it, but I wouldn't be shocked. And then I wouldn't be shocked if those Donkey Kong games like 64 or GoldenEye and stuff, they find their way onto the N64 Classic that's still rumored. Maybe it comes out this holiday. Maybe. We'll see. Finally, on Friday, we talked about Microsoft actually being the one to push for Cuphead to move over to the Switch. During GDC, several developers from Studio MDHR were interviewed, as well as PR from Nintendo, during which Microsoft was brought up as getting things started for the port. Bird Swing says, it's not a surprise Cuphead on the Switch is probably an easy 1 million seller. I said this before, I think the Switch is where Cuphead is going to sell the best. That's even between the PC and the Xbox. We even saw Hollow Knight sell seemingly the best on the Switch, and I think Cuphead has the backing, it has the notoriety, and it is just an overall good game. So, like, I think games like that should sell. I hope Studio MDHR makes a ton of money, and then we get the next Cuphead or whatever their next vision is, because that studio has proven to me, and I think a lot of other people who like platformers, that they can build a good game, and they're willing to put the time in. If it's going to take 4 years for all the hand-drawn visuals, take 4 years. That's fine. I hope they make enough money to where they can do that and not have to rush a game, and I think they're going to get that opportunity, because I do think Cuphead on the Switch is really going to push them with some money. And hey, you know what? Bring Cuphead to the PS4, because I'm sure it'll sell well there. Bring it everywhere so these guys can make another game that is really, really good. But yeah, it's going to do well on the Switch. I think Microsoft knows that, and that's why it's happening. Bright Info says, you look like the guy from Half-Life 2. Yeah, I get that a lot. See, Valve stopped calling me, so I had to make a YouTube channel. I mean, you know, nothing else to really do, I guess, at that point. But I had a good run back in the day. But Valve, they just kind of stopped talking to me. I guess Steam got too big and haven't heard from them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go do it here for the Saturday show. If you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure the like button really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. And leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is Cuphead on the Switch. Are you getting it? Are you surprised? And what do you think it could lead to for Microsoft and Nintendo? Because I don't think they're done. You're at least going to see Ori, but what else? What else could happen with that relationship? Also, what do you think about Stadia, game streaming, digital, all that stuff? Let me know down below. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'll see you later on tonight for the Spawncast.